Welcome to another Monday. It was another weekend where I was torn as far as what to see. I've been anxiously awaiting Bad Times at the El Royale, but First Man is looking to be in the running for some awards once the season rolls around. So what to do? Normally I would go with the box office numbers, but I'm going to tell you a little secret. I'm not actually in the studio right now. I had to pre-record this on Friday, so I have no idea what the box office numbers are yet. So I decided to take the safe route and go for the possible Best Picture nominee. So without any further ado, here's my take on First Man. Our movie takes place between the years of 1961 and 1969. President Kennedy has issued the Space Challenge, and NASA had recruited a group of astronauts to make that happen. We follow Neil Armstrong, one of the earliest test pilots and engineers for NASA, played by Ryan Gosling. We see him reeling from the loss of a daughter, which caused him to go all in when it comes to training for actual space. We see him and his fellow astronauts training for the Gemini and eventual Apollo missions to reach the moon before the Soviets, who up until this point had been decimating the space race. We see Neil in the different situations that he has to deal with, from test vehicles that keep failing to having to deal with the loss of some of his best friends, since this was the most dangerous time in space travel and several astronauts lost their lives in the pursuit of the heavens. We see Neil becoming more withdrawn, almost driving a wedge between himself and his family as he puts everything into reaching the moon. These were a bunch of young men risking everything in equipment that had never been tested, and when things went south, they had to think on their feet or not return home. As the movie progresses, we get closer to that summer of 1969 when history was made. Neil is chosen to captain Apollo 11, the do or die mission to the moon. We as the audience are actually on the edge of our seats, seeing how stressful this mission was, and for a lot of us that weren't around that July almost 50 years ago, we get to experience that moment that changed the world forever. So, what to say about this one? I was a bit hesitant to see this because I'm never sure about movies that I know how it ends. I mean, the phrase spoiler alert exists for a reason. But I'll tell you what, even though you absolutely know how the Apollo 11 mission ends, the filmmaking is done so well that until it happens, the whole time you're not quite sure that they're going to make it. I've never been so doubtful about a sure thing before. That being said, all of the space flights and maneuvers are very tense and stressful, but the rest of the movie tends to drag a little. It's not very dialogue driven. I never knew that Neil Armstrong was such a dry, introverted person, and Ryan Gosling does it perfectly. I don't know if it was the easiest or the most gruelingly brilliant performance of his career. It's crazy seeing the baggage that he was carrying along with the weight on his shoulders that every day he was doing something that would probably kill him. What's also fascinating is seeing all these people that you've only heard about and seeing them portrayed as normal, excited young men trying to get to the moon rather than the grizzled space heroes you always picture in your head. I also never realized the backlash that the space program was getting at the time for all the money being spent. So all in all, even though it's slow in the dialogue department, the film is great from the perspective of tension and allowing the younger generations of today to have that experience of accomplishment that the world felt that day in 1969. Plus, in the theater, it's just visually stunning, so you can't go wrong heading down to take this one in. And for those who are interested, next week I'll throw in some thought on Bad Times at the El Royale. This has been your Monday Movie Music. Back to you.